On a warm autumn evening, Emma, a 21-year-old girl, smart and full of energy, suddenly disappeared during a camping trip with friends in a remote forest area outside the city. The group was just walking around the campsite when Emma suddenly vanished without a trace. They searched everywhere, calling her name, but no response. A sense of confusion and fear enveloped them all. After several days of searching, the police declared the disappearance an inexplicable mystery. Emma's family, especially her mother, was deeply worried. Her mother, Margaret, did not stop searching for her daughter, even though the police had halted any official search. She hired private investigators and sought out places the group of Emma's friends may have overlooked. A few weeks later, Margaret received a call from a strange man who claimed to have seen Emma near a campsite far from where she had disappeared. However, when she arrived there was no sign of Emma. With no more clues left, Ryan, a close friend of Emma's, decided to continue the search. He felt that Emma was still somewhere nearby and wouldn't give up until he had answers. Ryan began working with private investigators and invited volunteer groups to join the search. The group traveled along trails in the forest area that the police had overlooked. During one of the searches, Ryan discovered a strange clue: Emma's handkerchief discarded beside an ancient tree. Ryan continued searching the entire forest area where Emma disappeared. During one of his searches, he stumbled upon a torn notebook, discarded by a tree. Inside were strange writings by Emma. The pages were unclear, but they recorded memories of a place where Emma felt a mysterious presence, something dark following her. Ryan read the last words Emma wrote. "It's getting closer. I don't have much time." Ryan shivered down his spine. Could Emma have known what was coming? As Ryan continued reading the notebook, he discovered that Emma had a strange dream just before she disappeared. In the dream, she found herself standing on a hill, seeing an old, misty house surrounded by thick trees. Although the place felt unreal, Emma sensed it was where she needed to go. Ryan realized there was a connection between the house Emma dreamt about and the forest area they were searching. He began researching old houses in the area, hoping to find a lead. Ryan and the volunteer group began following Emma's trail, venturing deeper into the forest, where they believed the house from Emma's dream might exist. They walked through trails and abandoned forest areas where no one had stepped before. After days of searching, they reached an area no one expected, an old house, covered by trees and thick bushes. It looked exactly like what Emma had described in her dream. An eerie feeling enveloped them, as if the place held an invisible power. The entire group stood outside the house, hesitant to enter. They felt an eerie pull drawing them inside. The old door creaked open, and as they stepped in, their flashlights illuminated the damp walls and the old, dust-covered furniture. An unsettling feeling overcame them, as if the house held a story that could never be told. They found a room full of old items, and inside it, a small wooden box. When they opened it, a small necklace with a red gem inside appeared. It was the very necklace Emma had been wearing before she disappeared. As the search group opened the wooden box and discovered the necklace, a heavy feeling engulfed the space. Sarah, one of Emma's closest friends, could not bear the truth that this necklace, something Emma had worn for so long, had now appeared here. She silently picked up the necklace, and suddenly, a cold gust of wind swept through, extinguishing all the flashlights, leaving only darkness around them. "We must continue," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. They all felt a strange presence, as if an invisible force was watching them. Despite the fear, the group decided to continue investigating. They chose to explore the room further. An underground space beneath the house began to reveal itself, and they found a hidden trapdoor, covered with thick dust and old relics. As they opened it, a foul odor rose from below, forcing everyone to turn their faces away. However, none of the group dared to give up. One of them, John, was the first to descend into the basement. He turned on his flashlight and pointed it toward the end of the basement, where a narrow passage led into an even darker space. As the group entered the underground space, they discovered a small room with strange paintings on the walls. Each painting depicted a similar image: children trapped in various spaces, with eyes full of fear. These paintings were unlike any art they had ever seen, and there was an eerie feeling, as if they were reflecting the pain of trapped souls. Sarah felt as though the images were staring at her, and she felt a strange chill deep in her heart. In the small room, the search group discovered an old metal cabinet buried deep in the dust. As they opened it, they found several strange documents, including old maps and mysterious drawings related to locations where children had gone missing. One of the maps depicted an area in the forest they had passed through earlier. Sarah felt that this could be a clue, a vital lead connected to Emma's disappearance and the other missing children. "We have to go to this place," Sarah said, her determination clear. As Sarah turned more pages, a strange image appeared in the book. It was a map of the area surrounding them, but there was one special point. A spot in the forest, where Emma had gone missing, was clearly marked. Sarah felt something was wrong. She realized that this book was the key to unraveling all the strange events that were taking place. As the group continued to explore the room, they discovered a hidden passage leading down into a deeper chamber, where light from the outside could not reach. As the search group stepped into the hidden passage, they felt a cold draft, as if they were entering a completely different space. Their footsteps echoed in the silent space, and the deeper they went, the heavier the atmosphere became. Entering the basement, the flashlight's light barely illuminated a small portion of the room. The space was dark, with cracked stone walls, and in the center of the room was a stone circle with strange red marks. As Sarah moved closer to the stone circle, she noticed that the red marks didn't look like dirt or scratches, but seemed to be old bloodstains. The feeling of coldness and fear grew stronger as she stood inside the circle. Suddenly, a faint scream echoed, as if someone was calling her name. The entire group turned around, but there was no one behind them. Sarah felt shadowy figures passing behind her, as if someone was standing in the darkness. A sense of paralysis took over the entire group. They couldn't move or speak. A cold voice echoed from the darkness. "They couldn't leave, and neither will you." The group panicked as shadowy figures slowly materialized around them, as if the souls of the missing children were returning. Sarah saw one of the figures among them, Emma, but she couldn't call out her name. only staring at her empty eyes. Sarah stood still, unable to move, but she felt a strange force in the air. The souls, including Emma, were not ghosts, but trapped spirits, unable to leave. Sarah felt a strange connection with Emma, as if she had realized something important. "You won't stay here forever," Sarah said, her voice full of determination. The souls around her seemed to listen, and Sarah continued, "We will help you escape this place." As Sarah spoke these words, the souls gradually began to fade into the space, as if they were being released. A soft breeze swept through, making the air in the room warmer and more comfortable. The ghosts slowly disappeared, leaving behind a peaceful silence. Sarah felt that the souls had broken free from their painful loop, and Emma was no longer there. A gentle light enveloped her, and she felt an extraordinary peace. After the souls were freed, the atmosphere around the group seemed to change. The heavy feeling in the air gradually lifted, and a strange sense of peace enveloped everything. However, in the midst of this silence, Sarah still felt an unfamiliar presence watching them. She turned around and saw a shadowy figure standing at the far end of the room. As the light from the flashlight illuminated the figure, she realized it was Emma. But this time, her empty eyes were no longer there. "I can't go with them," Emma whispered, her voice faint. Sarah moved closer to Emma, her hands trembling. "You can go, Emma. You're free now," Sarah said. But Emma shook her head. "No, I cannot leave with you. I have to stay here." Emma's words made Sarah feel suffocated. She realized that Emma's soul was no longer trapped, but part of a different world. "But I can't stay here forever," Emma whispered. "There are things I must face here before I can truly leave." A wave of sadness filled Sarah's heart. She understood that Emma couldn't truly be free unless she confronted the issues she couldn't face when she was alive. The other souls also returned, surrounding Sarah and Emma. A cold voice echoed through the space again. The souls who haven't completed their journey cannot leave until they face the final truth. Sarah felt this truth deeply. She knew she had to help Emma face the unfinished business. Sarah knew that in order to free Emma and help her complete her journey, she had to face the fears in her own heart. She had to return to the places in Emma's past where she had felt fear and loss. Sarah decided to go to the area in the forest they had found in the map. Along with the group, she made her way there. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Strange shadows began to appear, similar to what Emma had described in the notebook. When they arrived at the location, they noticed a large stone with strange symbols carved into it, similar to what they had seen in the old house. This was the place Emma had gone to before she disappeared. A strange feeling enveloped the group as Sarah stood before the stone. She placed her hand on the symbols and felt a powerful surge of energy, as if something was trying to communicate with her. "Emma, you need to face the unresolved," Sarah said, then looked at the stone, where Emma's memories seemed to linger. As Sarah placed her hand on the stone, a burning sensation spread from the strange symbols, like a door opening. By Samshung, a powerful beam of light erupted, illuminating the space around them. Images of Emma's memories began to emerge in that light. the nights she was haunted by darkness, the fears she had never shown to others. Sarah felt the deep pain and fear buried in Emma's soul. "You are stronger than this," Sarah whispered. "You can overcome it all." A strange sense of serenity enveloped the space as the images from Emma's past slowly faded. A gentle breeze blew through, carrying warmth, as if a part of Emma was being set free. "Thank you," Sarah said, her voice filled with emotion. "At last, you are free." A strong gust of wind swept through, and when it subsided, the group realized that Emma was no longer there. The space around them became quiet and peaceful. Sarah looked out into the distance, where the clouds began to part and the sky grew brighter. She knew that Emma had found the release she needed. The group stood in silence, feeling the change in the atmosphere. They had completed their mission, and Emma was no longer a trapped soul. The other children had also been freed, and now all of them rested in peace. Sarah sighed with relief, but she understood that their journey was not over. "We did it," Sarah said, her voice full of resolve. "And now we must move on." Lily was an 18-year-old girl, cheerful, sociable, and loved exploring new things. On a stormy night at the end of October, she left home without saying goodbye to her family or friends. When her family discovered she was missing the next morning, all efforts by the police were in vain. There were no clues, no traces leading to her. Everyone believed that Lily had been taken by some unseen force. Several months later, Lily's mother, Caroline, could not stop searching for her daughter. Although the police had declared the case a normal disappearance, Caroline didn't believe it. One day, she received a strange letter from an unknown person, with only a mysterious address and the line, "Lily is near, but no one can see her." This led Caroline to decide to investigate her daughter's disappearance on her own. Caroline followed the address in the letter to an old house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by thick trees. When she arrived, no one answered, but a heavy atmosphere engulfed the house. She decided to enter and found a locked room. After managing to open the door, she walked in and discovered a strange painting of Lily, motionless, standing in the middle of a dense forest. On the painting was a strange mark that Caroline had never seen before. This scene made Caroline suspect that Lily had been here before her disappearance. The traces in this house seemed to be connected to something supernatural, as if an unseen force was intervening in Lily's life. While continuing her search, Caroline reconnected with Lily's close friends, including Thomas and Lisa, who always believed that Lily's disappearance was not a normal accident. As Caroline and Lily's close friends, Thomas and Lisa, continued their search, they began to uncover clues from the strange painting in the hidden room. The marks on the painting seemed to lead to a forest area Lily had passed through before she disappeared. One important clue they found was an entry in Lily's journal, describing strange experiences she encountered during that trip. "I feel like something is always watching me. I can't shake the feeling of being surveilled." They decided to continue their journey into the forest Lily had noted in her journal, where the strange marks led them. A cold and eerie feeling enveloped the group as they ventured deeper into the woods. The landscape seemed to change, and there was no sound except for their footsteps. In a secluded spot, they discovered a giant ancient tree with strange marks on the bark. resembling the symbols they had seen in the painting. Thomas touched the bark and was suddenly struck by a powerful surge of energy. At this moment, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew, making the atmosphere even heavier. As the group moved deeper, they discovered a narrow passage covered by plants and dense bushes. They entered and found a small temple, abandoned and ancient. Strange marks appeared on the stone walls of the temple, with symbols the group couldn't understand. The sense of fear began to rise as they realized an invisible force was surrounding this temple. Inside the temple, the group found a large stone table on which lay an ancient book. This book contained strange tales about trapped souls and ancient rituals performed to free them. After reading through the pages, Caroline realized that Lily might have found this book and performed an incomplete ritual, leading to her disappearance. "We need to figure out how to complete this ritual," Caroline said, her eyes full of determination. After discovering the ancient book, Caroline and Lily's friends began to investigate the rituals described within. They found that the book not only contained rituals to release trapped souls, but also documented stories of young girls who had disappeared in this forest over many centuries. One particular ritual in the book required the participant to venture into the heart of the forest on a full moon night to search for release for the trapped souls. Caroline realized that Lily may have attempted this ritual without understanding its consequences. The information from the book worried Caroline. She understood that if they wanted to uncover the truth and rescue Lily, they would have to perform the release ritual on the next full moon night. However, the ritual was not simple. It required a sacrifice from the person performing it to free the souls of the trapped girls. Sarah, one of Lily's friends, felt uneasy about the potential danger of the ritual, but Caroline was determined to carry it out. The full moon night arrived. The group, along with Caroline, entered the forest where the ritual was to be performed. A sense of anxiety and fear overwhelmed them as they ventured into this place, where everything began to feel mysterious. The light from their flashlights illuminated only small portions of the forest, while darkness enveloped vast areas. When they reached the center of the forest, they discovered an ancient well, just like in the book. This was the place where the release ritual had to take place. Caroline stepped up to the ancient well, her hands trembling as she held the ancient book and began reciting the incantations from it. Suddenly, the water in the well began to ripple with strange swirls, and the atmosphere around them became frigid. Whispers from the darkness began to echo, as if someone was speaking to them. A shadowy figure appeared on the surface of the water, like a spirit returning from the past. Caroline felt a strange presence. As Caroline completed the incantations, a powerful surge of light erupted from the ancient well. The group stood frozen, unable to move as a shadowy figure began to emerge from the water's surface. The figure became clearer, eventually taking the form of a young girl. Her empty eyes and face haunted by an overwhelming fear. "Lily," Caroline cried out, but the figure did not respond. A whisper echoed from the surrounding darkness. "You cannot free me." A cold sensation filled the air as Lily's spirit could not break free. The past images of her began to appear before the group. Caroline felt that these spirits were not just memories. but fragments of souls still trapped. Lily was not the only girl stuck here. Other spirits gradually manifested, each with their own story. You must understand, Lily cannot leave if all the trapped souls here are not freed, Sarah said, her voice filled with concern. Sarah turned to Caroline, and in their gaze, a silent understanding passed between them. Caroline realized that in order to free Lily, they had to help the other spirits first. She looked into Lily's shadowy form, sensing the pain and fear she had faced in her life. "We will free them all," Caroline said. With determination, suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept through, and the spirits began to move, as if agreeing with Caroline's decision. The group began performing the release ritual for the spirits, following the steps described in the ancient book. The surroundings became mystical as a blue light enveloped the space. The spirits slowly began to be freed, and the atmosphere in the forest became warmer. Caroline sensed the shift in the atmosphere, but also realized that one soul remained trapped. "Lily's. We have to help Lily leave," Caroline said, not taking her eyes off the shadowy figure. As the group completed the ritual, a loud explosion echoed, and Lily's shadowy figure began to fade into the space, just like the other spirits. A paralyzing feeling filled the air as the group realized that the release had been completed. In that moment, a gentle breeze blew through, carrying the sounds of Lily's past, as if she had found the peace she had sought her entire life. "Lily is gone. She is free," Caroline whispered, her voice filled with emotion. After freeing Lily and the other spirits, the atmosphere in the forest seemed to calm. However, Caroline still felt a lingering presence, as if something was not fully resolved. She turned around and saw a figure standing between the ancient trees. It was another girl, someone Caroline couldn't immediately recognize. The figure began to fade, leaving behind a message in the air: "One soul remains trapped." Caroline felt a chill down her spine after hearing that message. She turned back to the group and shared what she had just witnessed. Everyone could feel the rising tension. Sarah, with concern, said, "Perhaps we haven't completed our mission. We have to find the remaining soul." The group began searching deeper into the forest, hoping to find the trace of that spirit before things turned worse. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they found a place they had never been, an area dark and surrounded by unusually shaped trees. Beneath the roots of the trees, they found marks resembling the footprints of a child, leading them to a small cave. The group entered the cave and explored what was inside. They discovered a little girl's clothing, with small traces of blood still on it. Caroline felt a great sorrow rise within her, and she knew that this little girl's spirit was the one still trapped. After discovering the little girl's clothing, the group continued to search inside the cave. Caroline felt that something was waiting for them deep inside. The sense of tension and anticipation grew as they found a stone wall with strange symbols carved into it. The symbols resembled those they had seen on the ancient tree and in the temple. Caroline touched the symbols, and immediately, a powerful beam of light enveloped the entire cave. As the light from the stone wall gradually faded, a voice echoed from the darkness. "Thank you for coming. Finally, I have been freed." From the shadows, a shadowy figure emerged. It was the spirit of the little girl, finally freed after many years of being trapped. Caroline felt a sense of peace and relief as the little girl's spirit faded into the air. Once again, a gentle breeze swept through, bringing with it a strange warmth, as if all the trapped souls had been set free. After freeing all the trapped spirits, the atmosphere around them seemed to become still and peaceful. Gentle breezes swept through the forest, bringing a warm and calm feeling. Caroline and the group stood in silence, feeling the shift in the air. Everything they had gone through had led them to a hopeful conclusion. From the shadows, a voice echoed, "Thank you." Caroline turned around and saw Lily standing there, but there was no longer any trace of fear in her eyes. "You've been set free," Caroline said, tears welling up in her eyes. Lily smiled. Her eyes filled with peace that Caroline had never seen before. "Thank you for helping me, for helping all of us," Lily said softly. "But there's one more thing you must do." Caroline felt that something was still incomplete, an unexplainable sensation. "You can leave now, but you must continue." Lily turned and began to walk away, but before disappearing entirely, she stopped and added, "Remember, souls never truly leave. They only move from one place to another." As Lily vanished, a wave of tranquility washed over the group. Caroline felt as though a heavy burden had been lifted. The group stood, looking toward the sky, where the bright full moon illuminated a forest, now quiet and full of hope. They knew that although their search had ended, their lives would forever be changed by what they had experienced. Caroline smiled and said, We did it. Thank you for being with me." The group silently made their way back, but in each heart there was a deep sense of peace, knowing they had helped the spirits find freedom. The group returned home, but they would never forget what had happened in that forest. They realized that the truth about Lily and the other spirits had opened up a new perspective on life and death. The strange events they had experienced were not just terrifying memories, but a part of life they could never fully understand. But one thing they were sure of was that the souls they had helped had found freedom, and their journey, though over, would forever remain a part of them, an unforgettable part.